You must be heading back to the States.
Heading back tomorrow.
Tomorrow, indeed.
Can hardly wait. Do you remember the last time I sat in this chair in 2025?
Yes.
And the last thing you asked me was, what did I think was going to happen in 2026?
Yes.
And the only thing I was able to do was let out a deep sigh.
And here we are.
Now you know.
January the 5th, and he's invaded Venezuela. We just checked our times. I think that the former deputy to Maduro, the man whose regime was so awful that Donald Trump had to remove it, the former deputy to Maduro is about to be sworn in as president, we think, at 12 noon GMT, which is 8 a.m.
Looks
Caracas
like that's 8
time.
in the morning in Caracas, yeah, absolutely.
So
not so much regime change as changing the head of the regime and hoping that you can now essentially force Delcy Rodríguez to her knees because you've got this blockade of oil tankers. I see that a substantial number of Venezuelan sanctioned oil tankers have reportedly departed port all at once in what seems to be a bit of a group effort to try and evade President Trump's self-described armada that is, he says, besieging the Venezuelan nation. Look, if the British government, as Mike Tapp suggested on LBC this morning, is waiting for Donald Trump to offer up a explanation of the legal justification for what he's done before they think they're going to be able to opine on whether it was or not legal, they're in for a very long wait because they have no legal justification for what they've done. And the one that was furnished by Marco Rubio over the weekend has sort of immediately been flattened by Donald Trump. Marco Rubio arguing this was kinetic action that was only designed to remove a fugitive wanted in the United States. This wasn't an act of war, and insisting that there wasn't going to be any kind of full-scale occupation of Venezuela. But let's take a listen to what Donald Trump said on Air Force One last night as he once again insisted the United States is running the country.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge. We're in charge.
We're in charge, by which they appear to be seriously indicating that they are simply going to put the thumbscrews on Delcy Rodríguez as soon as she's sworn in and becomes the country's new leader officially and force her to bend to their will. But what happens if, as is highly likely, she refuses to do exactly what Donald Trump wants? I mean, there are reports that there have been discussions mediated by the Qataris and that Delcy Rodríguez has indicated some willingness previously to work with the United States in a post-Maduro environment. But, you know, he wants absolute control of Venezuela's oil industry. Again, on Air Force One last night, listen to this.
Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies to bring back the infrastructure. And the oil companies are ready to go. They're going to go in, they're going to rebuild the infrastructure. You know, we built it to start off with many years ago. They took it away. You can't do that. You can't do that with me. They did it with other presidents.
And notice not a word about democracy, about elections, and there is growing evidence that one of the reasons why he is not interested in putting Maria Corina Machado, getting her back into Venezuela, first of all, demanding her return, but secondly, getting behind the idea of the Venezuelan opposition gearing up for elections so they might actually form the administration to which, you know, they were entitled after the last election, but Maduro engaged in irregularities to prevent them from taking power.
So he successfully stole an election.
Right, exactly. And growing evidence that
no wonder Donald Trump hates him.
And growing evidence that the reason why he's not backing Maria Corina Machado is because she pipped him to the post for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Accepted it. Had the audacity to accept it. I saw that in the Washington Post, this line, if she'd said, I can't accept this because it rightfully belongs to Donald Trump,
she'd be back in Caracas this morning.
President.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable.
Well, it is and it isn't. How many times have we said that to each other?
Of course.
We've got the same look on our faces. We might be a year older, but my goodness me, the song remains the same. It's unbelievable, but it's happening.
And he isn't finished yet. Again, on Air Force One last night, take a listen to what he said. Direct threats to at least one of Venezuela's neighbours.
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
And he went on also to make fresh threats to Cuba. He even threatened Mexico. He is absolutely serious about forcing Latin American governments to bend to his will. He's also serious, again, on Air Force One. I'm not going to play the audio, but he, again, made fresh threats to Greenland, even as you know, the Danish Prime Minister was pushing back and saying, don't even think about it. He is deadly serious about Greenland, and it all goes back to what Fiona Hill was testifying about in that congressional hearing and what she has been saying relentlessly over the past 6+ years, which is that what Donald Trump wants is to be seen as a strong man alongside Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, carving up the world and developing absolutely clear spheres of influence for the United States, for Russia, and for China, and everybody else is just going to have to fend for themselves.
I mean, I hesitate to mention it, but I suppose, given his position in the polls, that people deserve to be reminded that Nigel Farage either pretended to believe or genuinely believes that the two men you've just mentioned, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, will somehow be cowed or concerned by Donald Trump. I know, don't laugh out loud. He's a very important politician, Simon, but that's what he has been claiming on social media and presumably elsewhere as well. A position of such epic stupidity that you have to presume it's dishonest rather than simply stupid.
Well, especially given the fact that at the very moment that he was typing it, trebles were being poured in the Kremlin and in Beijing all round to celebrate a set of circumstances that neither the Chinese or the Russians could ever have dreamt they would be confronting at the start of the year. I'm
going to play you a clip, actually, which doesn't happen very often, but Natasha Clark, our political editor, has been with Keir Starmer this morning and managed to get in a specific question about Greenland.
The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. And it's for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark only. Mm-hmm. Denmark is a close ally of the United Kingdom in Europe and a close ally in NATO. And so it's very important we stand by our ally and very clear about the future of Greenland.
And that's your message to Donald Trump as well when you speak to him next?
It's my consistent message in relation to Greenland. And so that's not a new position. It is the future for Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. They are a European ally, they're a NATO ally, and we stand with Denmark on this.
Yeah.
Well, leaving aside the question of what he could be doing differently or whether or not he should be sounding a little bit more robust, can I use the phrase US media anymore?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it's an interesting question in and of itself. No, not really.
Right.
Because, of course, it's not a single media in any sense, and it is increasingly a pro-Trump media. I thought it was notable yesterday that Marco Rubio had a very combative interview with Margaret Brennan on CBS. And as you know, CBS is increasingly now, and has to be seen as, a pro-Trump network. And even there, he had an extremely rough ride, and it all got quite intemperate at one point, where she was asking why on earth they'd left the regime in power but only removed Maduro, which, of course, is, a breathtaking question. I mean, I think, look, Americans are not in large measure being presented with coverage that is asking the same questions that we are all asking about. Sure. Why is it that in his press conference on Saturday he referred to oil and oil companies 40 separate times? And it was the first thing he went to when he was asked about the future of Venezuela. Never, I think, used the word democracy.
Or drugs.
Brushed away the... Well, I mean, now, of course, now this notion that it was all about drugs, seems like it's distant in our rear-view mirror.
Don't tell the Daily Mail that. They're adamant that this is exactly the reason why they're doing it.
And also no commitment whatsoever to fresh elections in the country.
Is that the bit that surprises you the most? Or, I mean, surprise isn't quite the right word, but you sort of think the bits that you thought they might not have the audacity to attempt would be the regime reshuffle rather than the regime change.
I think it tells you exactly what Donald Trump is trying to achieve in Venezuela. He wants the resources. He wants the oil. He wants the business. That is his main desire. And he thinks he's going to get a better opportunity to force that with Delcy Rodríguez surrounded by this armada, this threat of an embargo that would prevent them notionally from engaging engaging in any trade in oil. He thinks he can get that faster by forcing her to kneel before him rather than waiting 30, 60, 90, 120 days for elections and then a new government coming in that may not be as open to the idea of an American takeover of Venezuelan oil as Donald Trump is demanding. He has no interest in democracy in these countries whatsoever. What he's interested in is making them become part of America's, as he sees it, unique sphere of influence in the Western Hemisphere. The Donroe, as they now style the Monroe Doctrine, the Donroe Doctrine.
And, of course, the more you read into that testimony that Fiona Hill gave in 2019, the more you realise that it's perfectly possible to actually name the people who are likely to be most enriched individually by these interventions. And you've done all of that without mentioning Juan Orlando Hernandez.
I know. Well, I was just going to come to that. I mean, the complete lie to Donald Trump's policy as far as the drugs issue is concerned relates to the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who, of course, President Trump pardoned and freed from an American jail where he was serving decades, a 25-year prison sentence, after having been convicted in American courts of many of the same crimes that they are going to present today before Nicolás Maduro and his wife. I do think Nicolás Maduro, I mean, if you watch the video of him, the perp walk, he's exuding confidence.
It's very odd.
Well, I'm not sure that it is.
Not odd.
I mean, in two ways.
Go on.
First of all, I've met him.
Right.
I met him in 2007. And he always exudes confidence about everything. Okay. And often that confidence is misplaced.
Yes.
He miscalculated. Trump, only a couple of weeks ago, was reportedly offering him the opportunity to go into exile, gilded luxury in Turkey. He didn't take it because he thought he could outmaneuver Trump. Now he's discovered he can't. But the reason why the confidence may not be misplaced is because I think Nicolás Maduro is going to have a strong case to make that he was illegally apprehended by the United States government, that the court in New York has no jurisdiction to hear the case, because by Donald Trump's own admission on Saturday, and this is why the British government's position is so supine in all of this, Donald Trump has already confirmed that this was, in his words, an attack on Venezuela's sovereignty, one of the most perfect attacks on sovereignty ever carried out by the United States. He has confirmed that this was illegal. And I think Nicolás Maduro's going to go to great lengths, through his lawyers, obviously, to try and prove that there's no case to answer for in the United States.
Call the president as a witness for the defence.
Right, absolutely. Or just, tough it out, get through the trial, get through the conviction, and then find a way of making sure that you can line up a whole series of circumstances that lead Donald Trump eventually to pardon him.
Do you want to end with another sigh, or are we looking forward to the year ahead now?
Oh, I think we're into it now. We're off and running.
We're always grateful for your help.